Story 1. My dinner tonight was ramen with frozen dumplings, eggs, green onions, and kimchi on the side. It was so good. Story 2. 1 egg, frozen vegetables, a bit of soy sauce, and some leftover meat or tofu if possible. Story 3. If you are short on money but still want to feel fancy, add a splash of soy sauce, an egg, some leftover vegetables, and a little butter or cheese. Ramen is a blank canvas, inexpensive but magical. Story 4. Try putting an egg or two. Don't put all the seasoning in the ramen. Dust your eggs with it. Story 5. Chili crisp adds a bit of texture and a lot of flavor, along with some spice. Story 6. Proper broth. If you are on a tight budget, one of the best things to buy to get protein is a whole chicken. You can eat well with very little money by buying vegetables such as potatoes, onions, and tomatoes and by roasting a whole chicken yourself. This is usually cost-effective. After you have eaten most of the meat, do not discard the bones and leftover bits. Put them in a large pot with a finely chopped onion and, optionally, celery or carrots and some herbs. Add 8 to 10 cups of water, cover, and simmer for 3 to 4 hours. Strain the broth and pour it over ramen for a delicious, inexpensive, and authentic dish. Story 7. You can buy a bag of dry rice and a bag of dry beans or lentils and make a delicious meal for about 70 cents per serving or less. That is similar pricing to ramen. Get salt, an onion, a head of garlic, and some Szechuan or chicken bouillon for flavor. If you have a friend with a Costco membership, you can get a whole cooked chicken for $4.99. Strip the meat from the bones and freeze it. Boil the bones in water with 1 tablespoon of vinegar to make bone broth. Price not included in this breakdown. Rice is $2.99 for 2 pounds, which is 8 1-cup servings at Target. 1 pound of dry lentils is $1.99 and has 8 1-cup servings at Target. There are 30 egg cartons for about $8.75 at my grocery store. That is 30 cents per egg. Add the price of an onion, garlic, and chicken bouillon and you are at 70 cents per serving. It is more filling and better for you. Fry an egg on top and you are at $1 per serving. If you want more vegetables, you can add celery and carrots. Story 8. Onions, canned potatoes, carrots, corn, and chopped peppers. Many kinds are fairly cheap. There are probably more, but these are what I have used during times of need. Story 9. Separating the ramen from the broth at the end and then searing it with Spam in a frying pan can taste good. With the broth, it is a bit salty for my taste. Story 10. Anything you have that would be good in a soup or noodle dish, depending on how much broth you like with the ramen. The problem is that too many people overthink it. Add whatever makes you happy, and don't worry about what influencers say is required. Story 11. Use the infinite green onion glitch and always keep one on hand for your instant ramen. Story 12. Kale or spinach. Ground meat of any kind, preferably poultry, for a healthier option. Story 13. I usually add a pinch of salt, some garlic powder, and a splash of soy sauce. It livens it up. I add a slice of buttered bread to accompany it if I am feeling particularly flush. Story 14. Many people suggest onions, so I will mention that green onions are very easy to grow in a small pot on a windowsill. Use the root end you cut off and place it in soil. You will have a steady supply of fresh, free green onions if you remember to water them. Story 15. A dash of sesame oil goes a long way. A lot of cheap instant noodles come with a sachet of it, too. Story 16. 2 slices of cheese make the broth creamy and add flavor. 1 slice works fine, but melting 2 slices makes it noticeably better. Story 17. Drain most of the water, then add about half the seasoning packet, or to taste, along with butter, chopped green onions, and possibly corn. Adding an egg is also great. Story 18. I used to add coconut milk and an egg to the beef or chicken-flavored Moroccan packets. Garnish them with some green onions, and you're good to go. Story 19. An egg, dehydrated vegetables, frozen mixed vegetables, a squeeze of garlic or ginger, and green onions, fresh or dried. Story 20. An egg, scallions, a thick slice of bacon, and a bit of cream. It tastes best with spicy pork broth. Story 21. For 4 years, I survived on ramen with frozen vegetables and chicken thigh meat as my primary source of meals. I would upgrade to chicken breast strips when they were on sale, but I preferred thigh meat. Story 22. Monosodium glutamate and egg would be the top two. Alternatively, instead of monosodium glutamate, I use aromat sometimes. It has great flavor. Story 23. Tuna, sesame oil. Just a teaspoon does a lot. Shoyu or soy sauce, ham or spam, dried seaweed, peas, soybeans, egg, and canned corn. Any one of these or a combination makes it nicer. Story 24. Ham, egg, chicken nuggets, canned vegetables. Walmart buffalo chicken and sour cream for spicy, creamy ramen. Hot dogs, kielbasa, and breakfast sausages. They all work. We are currently watching Naruto, so when we do, we tend to make fun ramen dishes. Story 25. Frozen spinach balls. Frozen vegetables. Corn, beans, peas, garlic oil and chili oil. Scallions sliced and frozen in an ice tray. Drop 1 cube before serving. Story 26. Half a hard-boiled egg. Yum. Trader Joe's and Wegmans have eggs for under $4. Story 27. I add a can of soup to mine and a little water if needed. It makes a good lunch because you can premix the soup and noodles in a Tupperware dish and, by lunchtime, just heat it up. It costs less than $2 per meal and is very filling. Story 28. Garlic, onion, cherry tomatoes, hot pepper, parsley, sesame seeds, pickles, gochujang, corn, and peas. Story 29. Poor and lazy? Throw a handful of frozen mixed vegetables into the noodles after the water starts boiling. This may add about a minute to the cooking time. Optionally, add half of the seasoning shortly after so the vegetables can absorb some flavor while boiling. If you do not want the noodles to absorb extra salt, add the full seasoning at that time instead of later. Story 30. My favorite flavor is creamy chicken, but my local grocery store does not carry it. I add a splash of milk or whipping cream, and sometimes I add my own chili spices. Story 31. Thanks to the United States prison system, we have the hookup. Search online. There are many variations, and these are people with nothing. Story 32. Imitation crab meat. You can get the small packs for $1. Story 33. You learn a lot of recipes for ramen in prison. Just saying. Story 34. Tom yum ramen, egg drop, 1/4 of an onion, sliced paper thin so it cooks in the hot water, chopped cilantro, julienne salami. Story 35. 1 egg, shredded deli meat and a can of corn. Use a reasonable amount of corn and do not use the whole can. Story 36. Ramen is not for poor people. At least that is what I think. Story 37. Chop up some salami or whatever you have, and pan-fry it for a bit. Story 38. Egg is the common upgrade. Recently I made ramen but did not have eggs. I had a bottle of Kewpie mayo and it blended very well with the broth. I know it is uncommon for people in a struggle meal situation to have Kewpie mayo on hand. Other upgrades are sunflower seeds, peanuts, cashews, almonds, or any type of nut. Also try pickled vegetables such as turnip, onion, carrot, or chopped pickles. And hot sauce. Story 39. Lao Gan Ma Spicy Chili Crisp. Just a pinch greatly improves the taste of ramen for me. It is inexpensive and should last a while. Story 40. Tofu. If you have a Chinese market nearby, they sell spicy dried tofu. It is inexpensive and adds flavor and texture. Alternatively, drain the noodles and add some garlic and chopped vegetables. You can also sauté crackers. Add a little butter and your favorite saltine. Sauté until the outside of the cracker has a nice brown shell. Then add. Chopped lunch meat such as ham or roast beef also works. You can add the noodles to any other soup for more substance, such as Campbell's chicken soup. Story 41. My husband always cuts up a hot dog and puts it in. He likes it. Story 42. Spinach, arugula, bean sprouts, chopped broccoli, anything really. Add some protein, an egg or a few pieces of chicken or turkey lunch meat with green onions. Think of ramen as a canvas. Add to it and be creative as well as cost-effective. Story 43. An egg is good. I put luncheon meat in the water when boiling to add some fat, and I add a tiny bit of sesame oil to the soup at the end. Story 44. Back when I was in college, I used to add an egg and soy sauce. But eggs are a luxury now. Maybe Spam? Story 45. Green onions, egg, and sriracha sauce if you like. I have really enjoyed dehydrated peanut butter in ramen. It helps the broth. While backpacking, I have often added packets of chicken or tuna for a little extra protein. Story 46. Use any inexpensive protein. Pan fry it and add it to the noodles about a minute before they are done. Frozen vegetables also work well in ramen. Story 47. Canned chicken. Ask the deli to slice the ham thick and cut it up at home. Story 48. Tofu fried in soy sauce and green onions provides inexpensive protein. I live in a high cost of living area, and you can get a tofu pack with 35 grams of protein for $2 that you can spread across 2 to 3 meals. A bunch each of green onions, cilantro, and Swiss chard would cost an additional $5. So it would be $7 to add these nutrient-dense choices to about 3 bowls of ramen, a little over $2 more per meal. You could even stretch it to 4 bowls. Story 49. Use chicken broth instead of water. Add green onions and carrots. For the egg, I prefer it cooked with a runny yolk. Story 50. Protein. Egg, imitation crab meat, or spicy peanuts. Color. Broccoli, corn, peas. Story 51. A slice of American cheese. Sautéed root vegetables are always a fun option. A 6-minute egg is good, or you can scramble the egg. A very small amount of sesame seed oil can elevate the flavor. Toss the noodles with curry powder and sauté them in a little butter or oil, then add the broth back in. This is a real treat. Combining all of the above is delicious. Garnish with seaweed. Story 52. Get a frozen bag of mixed vegetables, such as carrots, peas, and corn. Those vegetables or some basic meat always make instant ramen better. Story 53. Cut up broccoli stalks. Friends and housemates want to throw them away. Stop peeling carrots and potatoes. Grate or dice them and add to ramen. You will have to cook the potato unlike the carrot and broccoli. If you eat more than a teaspoon of raw broccoli, you will notice a bitter taste. I do not know where you are, but 1 kilogram bags of carrots are frequently sold for about 1.50 Australian dollars across Sydney. Story 54. Mix the seasoning packet with a small spoonful of mayonnaise and a splash of soy sauce in your bowl. Then blend it well with the ramen cooking water as you pour from the pot. It is even better if you mix an egg yolk or a whole egg with the seasoned mayonnaise beforehand. Story 55. Onion flakes, tuna and chili, whole milk and butter, tuna in spring water, drained, canned chicken or canned ham, cheese, fresh spring onions, kimchi, fried egg, hard-boiled egg, soft-boiled egg, raw egg yolk, shredded nori, blanched bean sprouts, frozen vegetables of almost any kind, croutons, garlic bread, whole milk instead of water, frozen meatballs, leftover chicken, and ground beef. Anything savory. Story 56. My personal favorite additions are Cajun seasoning, green onions, a soft-boiled egg, and a little dash of buffalo sauce. Story 57. Use black pepper and a powdered soup mix from the supermarket. 5-spice can also do a lot of heavy lifting. Story 58. Namsham Shin Gold noodles with canned chicken are my go-to noodle meal. Story 59. Soy sauce, eggs, cubed potatoes, sliced deli meat, onions, carrots, anything you can afford. The great thing about soups is that they usually work with whatever you put in them. Story 60. Skip the packets and pour the drained noodles over a small can of tomato sauce. Add Italian seasoning when you get sick of salty soup. See if you can find someone with a basil plant to take a sapling from. Basil is easy to grow once it gets going. A few mashed basil leaves improve almost any dish. Story 61. Use chicken thighs and frozen mixed vegetables. Cut the chicken into small pieces and sauté until cooked through. Cook the frozen vegetables according to the directions on the bag. Prepare the instant ramen noodles according to the package instructions. Then mix in the cooked chicken, vegetables, and the seasoning packet. Serve as a soup, or drain the broth and serve the noodles with chicken and vegetables. Story 62. I want to ask, what can you add to ramen to make life better, whether you are poor or rich? Story 63. Peanut butter makes the broth so rich and hearty. A tablespoon or so is perfect. Story 64. Frozen vegetables are inexpensive and last longer, so pair them with an egg or any type of protein. Story 65. Some of my relatives used to crush dry ramen noodles and make a salad by adding greens and some dressing. Story 66. Dandelions, as long as they have not been sprayed with noxious chemicals, are provided by nature for free. They are full of vitamins. Story 67. Ground turkey and inexpensive cuts of pork or beef are good options. One package can provide the protein. Certain cuts of pork are very cheap. They are high in fat and protein, which may not be good for cholesterol, but the fat and the high sodium content of ramen can help you feel full for a while. Story 68. Chunks of diced ham, butter, milk, eggs, and shredded cheese. Story 69. Add sour cream or cream cheese and lots of grated cheese. Top it with a soft-boiled egg. Eat it from the pan. It is delicious. Story 70. Eggs, scallions, fried onions, and bok choy, commonly found in Asian supermarkets. Depending on the ramen flavor, cooked spam. Story 71. I prefer the noodles without the broth. I usually eat cup noodles, so I am not wasting the good broth. I use the seasoning packet without adding the liquid. I often add a hard-boiled or fried egg, melt shredded cheese in the noodles, and include any leftover protein I have. Green onion also works well. Story 72. Buy a bag of frozen mixed vegetables. You can usually get 4 bowls from a 1-pound bag. Redistribute the contents into resealable plastic bags. You can also buy a bag of baby spinach and add some to each bowl. Deli sliced turkey or chicken breast is also a staple. Ask the deli counter if they have any chub ends. They will sell those cheaply because they are not optimal cuts, but they taste the same. You can also make sandwiches with them. I used to suggest a boiled egg. Story 73. Buy bags of spinach, eggs, garlic, and inexpensive protein. Cook the protein until it is soft and appealing. Chop or shred it, refrigerate some, and freeze the rest. Story 74. Frozen mixed vegetables and pre-cooked chicken chunks. Story 75. My ramen tends to be simple. I start by bringing water to a boil. In another bowl, I add half the seasoning packet and a little soy sauce. I use thick sliced ham, often honey ham that is not overly salty, and quickly sear it with honey and sweet soy sauce. When the noodles are cooked, I move them to the bowl and pour in some hot water from the pot. I add shredded carrot and diced chives. I top the ramen with the ham and, if I want, a boiled egg. Story 76. If you cook and have items in your pantry, you can add a lot depending on what you want. Eggs, vegetables, meat or tofu, seasonings and spices, vinegar, lime, soy sauce, miso, sriracha, fish sauce. Story 77. Some cuts of pork are very cheap. Spinach and vegetables in general. Obviously eggs. Story 78. The ramen subreddit will blow your mind. Recipes in the subreddit wiki include ways to spice up instant noodles. Story 79. Corn, shredded carrot, caramelized onion, 1 poached egg, and 1 fried egg. Story 80. Half a tin of corned beef crumbled with beef stock instead of the little flavor packet it comes with. It is more filling, has a better texture, is inexpensive, and keeps well, so you can store it with the noodles. Story 81. What I used to do was put a small amount of frozen mixed vegetables or peas into the mixture with an egg. Story 82. Soy curls are inexpensive in bulk and have a long shelf life, so there is no waste. They are delicious and rehydrate and cook quickly. Story 83. Buy cheap seasonal or discounted vegetables. If you are able to shop, there are often vegetables near the end of their shelf life that can be bought for a fraction of the price. Chop what is inexpensive and toss it into an egg for a simple, affordable meal. If you are within walking distance of a supermarket, Shopping more like Europeans helps. That means buying food the same day instead of stockpiling, so you can get meat and vegetables that are at the best before date but not yet spoiled. Story 84. Garlic powder, chili flakes, sesame oil about 3 drops, margarine, Parmesan cheese, peanuts, scallions or green onions. Dried versions are cheaper. These are inexpensive ingredients you can add to bulk up ramen. Story 85. In a bowl, combine 1 egg yolk and 1 teaspoon mayonnaise. Kewpie mayonnaise is best, but any brand will do. Add 1 tablespoon minced garlic and the ramen seasoning packet, and mix until combined. Cook the noodles according to the package instructions. Reserve some starchy noodle water and use it to loosen the bowl mixture into a broth. Add the noodles and serve. You can also add protein and sliced green onions. I like to add a gooey soft-boiled egg and whatever protein I have on hand, such as chicken, beef, or tofu. Story 86. Ginger and onion powder, soy sauce, sesame oil, eggs, and my secret favorite, peanut butter. Trust me, it is extremely delicious. Story 87. Hard-boiled eggs, sliced, with chopped green onion. To save money, keep the root ends of your green onions and plant them. They will grow in a small pot by the window and are easy to care for. They grow fast. Just make sure your pets do not eat them because onions are poisonous to dogs and cats. If you have any land, 2 backyard chickens will produce enough eggs that you do not have to buy them. Story 88. Snow peas, canned bamboo shoots, canned water chestnuts, green onions, egg, soy sauce, and a dash of rice vinegar if you have it. These can all be stretched out for multiple servings of ramen and can be found inexpensively at dollar stores or Trader Joe's. Story 89. Hot sauce or chili oil. It levels up even the plainest foods. You can eat rice and chili oil if you would like, and it will hit every time. Story 90. Pork often goes on sale. Slow roast it, cube it, and freeze it. It does not matter whether it is a whole shoulder or pork chops. Frozen cubes will keep for up to a year, and 5 cubes should cost less than $1 to add to your noodles. A small amount of frozen spinach is nutrient-dense. Shredded carrots and onions are an inexpensive way to add flavor and texture. Both can last for months. Story 91. Eat a salad. It is much healthier than all the salt in ramen. Story 92. Cream soup will add more flavor and needed calories. You do not have to add the entire can per serving. Story 93. If you can swing $5, rotisserie chickens are inexpensive and you can refrigerate the meat and use it all week. Story 94. I buy the cheap kind that comes with small seasoning packets. I add broccoli to soak up some of the sodium. Story 95. My favorite is buldak carbonara with some cream cheese added. Story 96. Eggs or hot dogs. Chop them up and boil them with the noodles. It is actually pretty good. Story 97. Packs of tuna from Food 4 Less are 10 for $10, contain 16 grams of protein, and come in a wide variety of flavors. Story 98. Beef or chicken is better than a bouillon cube, with some vegetables and eggs. Story 99. I add a hard-boiled egg and a green onion to mine to make it a bit fancier. Story 100. Fresh or frozen vegetables work. Use any protein such as chicken, beef, eggs, beans, or lentils. Story 101. Oh my God. Just about anything. Corn, carrots, cooked onions, tuna, mashed potatoes called a ramen bomb, spam, and hard-boiled eggs. Story 102. Many people do not know this. Boil it in water mixed with chicken broth rather than plain water. Story 103. I eat ramen noodles at least 2 or 3 times a week, especially on cold mornings. My usual toppings are egg, broccoli, chicken or pork slices, and either oyster sauce or miso paste. If I add meat, I do not use broccoli. Story 104. Beef bone leg extract takes a 7 out of 10 to an 11 out of 10. However, I do not know if it is easy to find in North America. I just brought home 12 packages from Mongolia. Story 105. Adding a couple of frozen dumplings works well. Story 106. I add little smokies or other less expensive sausages chopped into pieces. These sausages can also be added to macaroni and cheese. Story 107. I learned that one in Korea. Postscript. The way I did it and the way I've seen them do it is to cook the noodles until boiling, crack an egg into the pot, stir until the egg is cooked, then transfer the noodles to a bowl and put cheese on top. Story 108. Frozen peas. Use about half a cup. 98 cents a bag. They can be eaten partially cooked, but I think they are best heated all the way through without becoming mushy. Story 109. Eggs. Cheese. Canned vegetables. I like to add extra corn to mine. Story 110. I'm a fan of sweet and spicy sauce. A bottle should last for weeks. Story 111. Get some surimi sticks. They are inexpensive. Where I live you can get a 12-pack for 1.50 euros. Cut one into thin circular slices. When heated they will unfurl and become long fish meat noodles. Napa cabbage, thinly sliced, is a good addition if you like the taste. It is cost-efficient if you can buy a partial head, for example 1/4. If you can get thinly sliced salami, cut it into small noodle-like strips and either fry briefly in a pan or microwave before adding to your ramen. For crunch, slice a bell pepper thinly. One pepper should last for 5 to 6 ramen meals. If you have a cheese grater with large holes, shred half a carrot lengthwise to get noodle-shaped carrot bits. If you have cream, add a little, just enough to make the broth less watery. Story 112. What can't they add? Eggs, corn, cabbage, meats, radishes, dried or fresh mushrooms, cheese, anything you can think of. Story 113. A spoonful of peanut butter, some sriracha, a splash of lime juice, and an egg. That's the magic combo. You're welcome. Story 114. I never eat ramen, but I would try eggs, butter, and chopped onions. Story 115. When I was poor, I added grass to ramen. I would pull grass from the lawn. Near the root the grass turns white, and I would spend half an hour cutting off the green parts and the roots, gathering the white pieces. Life hurts when you're poor. Story 116. Eggs, hot dog chunks sautéed in soy sauce or sriracha, or any canned seafood. Story 117. You need 2 mushrooms to make it more interesting. There is no need to cook them. Simply place them into the hot broth. Story 118. A slice of cheese and a slice of ham. Add some green onion if you can afford it. The same goes for an egg. Story 119. Download the most expensive ramen photo to your mobile phone. Open it and start eating your poor ramen. How does it taste? P.S. Do not look at your own plate. Look only at the screen. Story 120. I like to chop the stems and root ends of bok choy and cook them in the broth before I add the ramen. When the broth is almost done, I crack an egg into it, add the chopped leaves, and cover to steam the egg. Story 121. Buy a bag of cut wakame, which is dried seaweed. You only need a little each serving, so the bag will last a long time. I also add baby bok choy for additional vegetables. Story 122. Green onions, corn, boiled eggs, mayonnaise, and garlic paste. If you can spare $15, buy a marinated tenderloin and add some slices to the ramen. Story 123. Add a raw egg, microwave for 30 more seconds, and stir it in. Adding 2 slices of American cheese makes it even better. Draining the noodles before adding the flavor packet improves most ramen. Story 124. Grated carrot, zucchini, cabbage, peanut butter, egg, and onions. Story 125. Almost anything. Vegetables, eggs, chicken, and tuna are just a few suggestions. Story 126. A cheap pork chop costs about $1 to $2 at almost any grocery store. Story 127. Thinly sliced cabbage, shaved carrot, onion, ginger, and pickled radish. Use homemade stock in your broth. Story 128. Add chicken bouillon and Grace hot sauce, a few splashes. You can also add chicken and turn it into soup using chicken bouillon powder. Serve with a side of white rice and avocado. Story 129. Use less water. Most people eat ramen packets like a soup, But if you add the minimum amount of water, the noodles become very thick and the flavor packet enhances the taste. Adding seasonal, inexpensive vegetables can help. I like peas or corn, but to each their own. Frozen vegetables are probably the cheapest. Story 130. Spam, eggs, and green onions. Sprinkle with black pepper and sriracha. Story 131. I used to pour out most of the liquid, add an egg, crunchy onions, sriracha, and green onion if you have it. Boom, pad thai. Story 132. Sautéed onions, green onions, and turkey meatballs. Jarred peppers, olives, and vegetables also work well. Story 133. I added potatoes or potato flakes when I wanted it thick and creamy. A spoonful of peanut butter and a little red pepper can make it taste Thai. Add an egg white and stir. Then drop the yolk on top of the noodles in the bowl and stir it into the noodles. It will cook a little from the heat and add great texture. Sometimes add a slice of cheap cheese over the noodles and stir it in if you are splurging on cheese. All the frozen vegetables work. Sliced hot dog is okay, but I prefer egg. Corn and black beans with cumin make it Mexican. Melt a Hershey's Dark Kiss in for a mole flavor. Sliced scrambled egg and green onion work. Green onions are great because you can buy them once, slick the bottoms in a glass of water, and they keep regrowing, which makes life feel classy. A fried egg with a runny yolk is Korean. Corn, potatoes, and barbecue sauce is almost like a Kentucky Fried Chicken bowl. Story 134. Various flavored sauces and condiments, whatever you like. Some green onions, lightly fried bell peppers, and sautéed button mushrooms. Story 135. In Asia, they sometimes add peanuts. I really like the flavor. Story 136. Mix the packet and make your own. I like this recipe, but I have the pepper and substitute curry for cumin. Add an egg and some serrano ham if you can. Story 137. When I was a student, it was frozen peas or mixed vegetables with gravy or an oxo cube. Also, any kind of tinned meat, such as spam or corned beef if I could find them cheaply. Story 138. A handful or two of frozen mixed vegetables, a boiled or fried egg, cheese, beef or turkey jerky, cut up hot dogs, and bacon bits on top. I like ramen with or without the broth. I often use broth instead of the salt-heavy seasoning packets. Story 139. We add more ingredients like corn, carrots, and peas. If pre-cooked shrimp is inexpensive or on sale, we add it as well. Story 140. Throw some frozen stir-fry vegetable mix in to cook. Use half the seasoning packet, add 1 spoonful of peanut butter and some sriracha. I add nearly as many vegetables as noodles and tell myself it is fairly healthy. Story 141. I've heard billionaires are delicious. It might just be a rumor. I do not know. Story 142. Add Parmesan, a little hot sauce, and some diced chicken. I have added sardines in mustard, but you really have to like sardines to add them to hot soup. Don't risk your last pack of ramen on this. Story 143. Choose whatever vegetables you like that are the cheapest at your local grocery store. Story 144. Hard-boiled eggs. Quartered. Corn. Use a vegetable peeler to shave a carrot. As you get closer to the core, it will become too small to shave. Then chop the core at an angle rather than straight across. Cucumber cut in half lengthwise. Scoop out and discard the seeds, then slice as desired. Thinly sliced celery. Add paprika or chili powder. Dried seaweed flakes. Optional meat. Any discounted meat from Walmart with a yellow tag, often 40 to 50% off. For example, beef hot dogs, cooked and sliced straight across or at a steep angle. Steamed or boiled cabbage, or thinly sliced raw cabbage. Story 145. Eggs, green onions, and chili crisp. I also add rotisserie chicken from Costco. Story 146. If you have carrots, cauliflower, or broccoli, slice them very thinly. They add vitamins. Story 147. Joy, happiness, and hope. Ramen cannot fix being broke, but at least you can eat your feelings for less than $1. Story 148. Bok choy, garlic, egg, kimchi, seaweed, tofu, chili oil. Story 149. I used to buy frozen stir-fry vegetables, frozen chicken breast, and curry spices to make stir-fry with ramen, or I would add an egg. Story 150. Cilantro, fried onion, sriracha, turmeric powder, and black pepper. Story 151. Add lots of healthy vegetables. Throw away the ramen. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.